Hey guys, we're here today for another episode of the Dyno Report. This episode, we're going to be installing a dog bone mount insert to stiffen up the drivetrain and get more power to the wheels. But before we get this in, let me tell you where we're at right now.
So as a lot of you guys know, engine mounts from the factory are almost always going to have a little bit of play in them, a little bit of slop, a lot of people like to call it. That's because there's a little bit of air for cushion and movement allowed in the engine in these mounts for comfort. Like I've been saying a lot recently, a lot of what we're doing is taking away the comfort aspect in the name of performance. That's the same with this dog bone mount insert. This is actually going to be filling some of those gaps in the dog bone mount bushing so that when the engine is under acceleration, it's not going to be moving as much. It's going to tighten it down, and that transfer of energy that would be lost in the movement in that rubber is actually going to end up making its way to the wheels instead, which will create more power at the wheels. You're not going to be making any power at the engine with these mounts because there's no more fuel being added, no more air being added. You're just stiffening everything up to take that energy, that horsepower and torque that's being created in the engine and helping it get directly to the wheels. So there's the difference between brake horsepower and wheel horsepower, and we are increasing wheel horsepower because that energy, when it goes for comfort, gets lost because of the rubber absorbing it, the movement in the engine taking some of that away. So when you stiffen that up, like I said before, it gets to the wheels, creating a little bit more wheel horsepower, tightening everything up. ECS claims that you will get smoother shifts as well. We'll be the judge of that. So on acceleration, either going into gear or already in gear, with this dog bone mount, you can feel a little bit of the slop happening. You put your foot down, you kind of feel the engine kick back, and then you start to go forward. So the dog bone mount actually goes from the engine to some chassis bracing underneath, so that when the engine is accelerating, it's going to lean back this way a little bit, and that kind of holds it in place, but it isn't completely firm, so the engine is going to buck a little bit, if you will. But putting this insert in is going to stop that bucking so that it kind of plants itself and creates that power to the wheels. So you can't feel this, but I'm going to shift into third at 40 miles an hour and plant it. It just takes about a quarter of a second to really tighten itself down to get that power to the wheels. You can kind of feel it move, and then the car goes along with it. So I'm hoping when we can get this mount in, that'll stiffen that up. This is probably where some of the biggest gains measurably are going to come, is when you start to do some of these mounts, especially at lower horsepower mods like I have. Bigger horsepower mods are obviously going to make a huge difference because they're making more power. These are making a little bit more, so if we can tighten it down and get what we've created to the wheels, I really feel like we're actually going to get potentially 0.2 of a second off, maybe even close to factory 60 of 6.4. Yep, feel it, just a little bit. It bucks, and then the power gets to the wheels. I did a snub mount on my Audi, which the engine in the Audi was a V6. It was longitudinally mounted, so it was going this way with the car. This inline 4 is transversely mounted. I'm really hoping I'm getting those right. So it is actually, the cylinders lined up across the car, not in line with it. So the snub mount for the Audi was doing the same thing. It was eliminating that bucking that the engine would do when you're under acceleration. That honestly made a huge difference. I could feel as soon as I was accelerating that instead of you kind of get, oh, that, it just went. It just wanted to go immediately because it was getting that power to the wheels quicker. It wasn't having to buck and then, oh, Boise, I've got to get this power to the wheels now. I've been moving around too much because it stiffened everything down. And that's what I want to do with this. I'm going to get some engine mount inserts as well. I'm eventually going to do full engine mount like replacement. That's not for a little bit. These inserts are a lot cheaper and can really help in the long run with the wear on the stock mounts as well as getting a little bit more power to the wheels. So we're going to go that route for the time being. This is the dog bone mount insert that goes up underneath the car, right here-ish, right below where my hand is. And like I said before, it fills that void that is in those bushings from the factory to help it just get locked down. It's polyurethane, so it's pretty stiff. It's 88A polyurethane, which is among the stiffer. From my understanding, there's 70, 80, and 90 that I've seen consistently, but ECS is 88, so it's closer to that 90A, which is just gonna really help make that stiffer. There is one thing that I do want to say about engine mounts though. So with stiffer mounts, there's gonna be a price to pay. That is almost always going to be more vibrations throughout the car and inside the cabin, because that slop that is in the drivetrain is actually taking those vibrations away, it's absorbing them. So when you kind of put them back, for lack of a better term at the moment, you're gonna be feeling that in the car. So if you are installing stiffer mounts, don't be alarmed if there's some more vibrations. You're just feeling the natural vibrations of the engine that are now making its way into you, not into those air pockets and that slop in the mounts. So there are some drawbacks to stiffer mounts, but generally, if you're going to put stiffer mounts in, you're usually well aware that with performance comes a bit of a drawback and lack of comfort. Like the turbo muffler delete, the intake, you're getting more noise, which people generally don't want, except car guys do. We love the noise. We love the turbo noise. We love the induction noise, exhaust. Got to get one on soon. But the vibrations, people can be a bit iffy about. Me, I'm fine with them. I know a lot of people who are generally fine with the added vibrations because of the performance you're getting. Enough talking. I talk too much sometimes. I really like to blabber. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna get this dog bone mount insert in and take it back out and get some 0 to 60 testing. Really hoping for some good results. Hopefully even we'll hit factory 60 of 6.4. We're currently at 6.7. That's what I managed with the turbo muffler delete, but I think we're gonna get some really good results with this. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get the dog bone mount insert in. The insert install took me about 10 minutes. Now, most of that was because my bolts were a little bit older and the stretch bolt had a little bit of rust on the end of it, which took a little bit longer to get out than it should have. When you're taking the dog bone mount out, don't worry, the engine isn't gonna fall on you because there's 2 mounts at the top holding it up. If you'd like to watch the full dog bone mount insert install, please head over to my YouTube channel. So the 2 things ECS and a lot of other companies who make this dog bone mount insert claim is smoother shifts and less wheel hop in minutes. Well, I mean, 3 bolts should take minutes, but mine were pretty far in there. But I will say right now, I can confirm the smoother shifts is definitely a thing. The engine and the transmission aren't lurching as much when you're going into gear. I've spent the last couple months really fine tuning and figuring out how to get the smoothest shifts I possibly could. But ultimately, this dog bone mount insert is where those smooth shifts were hiding. I couldn't get them very frequently, and I was really trying to get that perfect aspect of gas and clutch and everything just working together very well. But honestly, this made the biggest difference. Truthfully, if you really want a smooth driving experience, because honestly it's not adding that much vibrations, nice smooth shifts, get this dog bone mount insert. It has already made the drive so much better instead of coming from a stop and trying to not accelerate too hard, but you're like lurching a little bit because you're trying to really ease that clutch and you miss it. But it's truly fantastic so far, and I can already feel a difference in how much stiffer the whole drivetrain is. It really gets in those gaps like it's supposed to do and stiffens everything up, helps it not to move around as much. So there are some noises that I've noticed with this dog bone mount. It's mostly at idle. It's just like a rhythmic da 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 da, which sounds to me more like something that you weren't hearing before, you're just hearing a little bit now because the vibrations are now coming in through the cabin a little bit more. That's how sound is transferred through vibrations, sound waves, all that type of stuff. But it's really not that bad, and I feel like once the mount starts to settle in and kind of shift its way on into its lazy boy recliner, then it'll smooth out a little bit. It doesn't sound like anything bad, it's just the engine's moving a little bit and you're hearing it. I'm going to confirm that it's nothing serious with my mechanic friend, but I don't think it's anything too bad. I've put in a stiffer mount before and I have heard some things. This is a little different. It's also a different mount, a different engine, a different mounting of that engine as well. So it's probably nothing, but I'm going to get it checked anyway. But let's be real, it's probably nothing anyway. Seriously, the shifts are so smooth. I was kind of skeptical on the smoother shifts thing, but kind of thinking back logically on how this dog bone mount works and what all goes into it and where it's placed and the transmission, it really makes sense that it would be a lot smoother, because the engine isn't moving as much when you're trying to mate them together. It's just grabbing hold of the clutch and off you go. Also, it's made a huge difference in terms of acceleration. The snub mount on the Audi that I did was amazing because it took away some of that lurching. This is kind of the same way. I'll go down third gear, 40 miles an hour, and then, like I said before, there's about a quarter second. Virtually gone. You plant your foot and it's going to respond pretty quickly. Something that is just awesome, and that's what I loved about the naturally aspirated too, is like it responded super quickly. This feels that response is getting quicker and quicker as well. I really didn't think a $50 dog bone mount insert would do as much as it's doing, but truthfully, it's fan flippin-tastic. And along with an induction mod, this is definitely one of the first mods you should do. It's really not too hard. The engine mounts on the up top part of the engine bay, I know that's super technical sounding, they're still holding it up, so you don't have to really worry about anything falling on you. You just get in there, undo 3 bolts, take out the mount, stick the insert in, and put it all back together. So stiffer mounts really help get power to the ground, especially under heavier acceleration. Now, even getting off the line at a stoplight in the GTI with this new mount, it feels like a lot more power is getting to the ground, is getting to the wheels, and pulling this car forward. It doesn't make any more horsepower. That is just a fact. This does not make horsepower, but it really feels like it has, even though it's just taking the horsepower that's already being made in the engine and getting more of it to the wheels. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it, and I really think this is going to make a difference on acceleration. So, with acceleration in mind, let's seriously just not waste any time. Let's do some 0 to 60 testing to see where we're at. 3, 2, 1. .1. That was weird. It got into second, but it didn't want to do anything. All right, run number 2. Ready in 3, 2, 1. Seven flat. I think I know where the problem is. I'm shifting too late in first. It's getting caught up at 40 with some wheel spin in second. So I'm going to try to shift just before 6,000 RPMs to really try to get the most traction I can in second, because I can see it hangs up for about a half a second in 40. All right, ready for run number 3 in 3, 2, 1. .1. So that wheel hop thing is not being helped right now. I'm getting a lot more of it than I was before. That's weird. That's really weird. Because I'm in the 7s now. I was at 6.7 with the turbo muffler delete. Now I'm... fastest I've done is 7 dead. All right, ready for run number 4, I think, in 3, 2, 1. Oh, 6.6. Yes. 6.6. Heck yeah. Found it. Found it. 6.6. Another 10th closer. We're getting close to 6.4. We'll get there eventually. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Dyno Report. Have a great day. Remember, Jesus loves you. Bye.